Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about how to add lighting and textures to dramatically enhance an illustration, transforming it from this to this. Let's get started. So first up, this is how I would usually flatten my colors on a comic before adding any shadows or lighting effects. I won't go into any details about the shadows or base lighting because that is in another video. So let's just put them on right now. Right now, with these shadow layers up, we can see the general direction of where I want the lighting to be. Next, let's say I want to add a really strong lighting source coming from here to there, hitting the girl on the back. This is how I would do it using blending modes. So right here, you can see this layer I created is in color dodge mode. This is how it looks like in normal mode. I just painted lights on the areas I think would be hit on the body, on a color like a sunset kind of color. And then you can turn it into one of these modes right here that will lighten the image underneath. Color dodge or add mode are usually the ones I pick. To see the differences between these modes, color dodge saturates a little more the image, and also it doesn't touch any black point. So we can't see it right here because this layer is underneath this layer, my line art. But if it was above, you can see how right here the blacks are not touched, while right here any what was a gray value is colored. Meanwhile, the add mode will bypass this and still lighten the darks. So this is just a matter of preference. I'll take it back here and clip it back onto this layer. Usually for my rim lights, I prefer color dodge to add just a bit more of saturation, but that's up to you. And next, I created an overall lighting source right here. This layer is just a gradient, a whole gradient, coming from top right to bottom left that I set on add mode. You can see when it's set to normal, you have these two little green dots that correspond to the eyes. I just wanted to add just a little more pop. You can see right here. It's just that much of a little touch and catches the eye of the viewer. We can always set back opacity if this is too much for you, but that's how I intended it. Just like a really bright and harsh sunlight. And lastly, there's a kind of layer I always use on my comic, and it's the overlay or soft light blending mode. This kind of blending mode that I will use right here is used for texture layers. So right here you see the final effect, and it kind of adds some kind of like little paper ink texture all over the image. If I set it back to normal, here's how the layer looks right now. So overlay, it's kind of more contrasty than the soft light look, especially on the really high brights and high darks in the image. It's just a little too much for my style, but it could work, no problem. I usually go with soft light, just a little bit gentler with the tones and the shadows. This one you can also set back a little bit, just like you want. I use these layers regularly to add some kind of like paper texture underneath, or maybe some kind of canvas, to make it look as you just imported this image and painted it directly on a traditional media. If you, like me, you came from traditional media and you missed that organic feeling, this kind of layer blending mode can help you give some of it back. Not all, but I don't know. It's just, it doesn't look that flat and that digital. It's just a little more flattering to my eyes, but how you know, that's just personal taste. One last tip I would add for anyone is whatever you do, just always take a step back, look at your picture for a little further away, and usually it's time to dial back the opacity of what you did or erase some of the effects. You could have just like overdone it with the painting maybe. It's what happens a lot of the times, like I don't know, you paint and get really crazy, but then just go back in, erase some of it because that was way too much. For these effects, a small amount usually goes a really long way. You don't need to add such a lot of effects right here. Just a really small light source and bright one in your image can add a huge impact by catching the eye of a viewer. So, thanks for watching everyone, and keep creating.